Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 23, season 4 of the Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live every Wednesday on Facebook throughout the season. Evening, Richie. Well, it finally happened. We got our first multi, and it was the Warriors that actually sealed the deal for us with an impressive win over the Sharks. So congrats to us, and I think we've won back Paul all his money, so he can get off our backs now. And
What? We are nowhere near. So as you can see, we won $11.06, and we're at least 14 weeks in. So we're a long way down on the old multis. But there you go.
Yes, I don't want to brag, but we're going to find out about it later. But I got a perfect round, so my multi, which is a little bit more than $2, pulled off. So I'm reasonably happy with my betting choices this week.
I noticed you even gave yourself a little gold star too.
Yes, that's what happens. Gold star for a perfect round. That's what we do. You got a few of those last year, so we're deviating well off track now. But how was your weekend, and what did you think of the round overall?
It was good. Thanks, buddy. I enjoyed the round, as I tend to do when we get a good win. But I thought there was a couple other very good games as well.
Yeah, I thought there was quite a few good matchups and entertaining watches, which was good. We'll talk about it when we get to the ladder, but I feel like there's only 9 or 10 teams left in the comp, but it's so close that it could very much change where everyone is on the ladder. We'll talk about that at that point, though. But while we're here live on Wednesdays at 8 p.m., you'll also catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those places. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of the last Origin match and round 20, and then a quick update on our tips. We'll then answer some questions from you guys, as well as questions we've prepared for each other. We'll then preview round 21 and make our picks before ending the night with a recap of the Super League. So remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show, and we may as well jump straight into the stories, Richie. And I see Jacko's here, advising us not to Skype too much. Yeah, 100%. I'm pretty confident our multi will not happen this week. We were just lucky. We got a predictable round, I guess you could say. But yeah, first story, the NRL came out and announced that the Titans should have been awarded a penalty for Eels players being offside when Tanner Boyd attempted a field goal and then narrow lost this round. But ironic that the week before they got penalised for the same thing that cost them in the golden point, and then they don't get the rub of the green this time. Disappointing for the Titans. I put myself into their shoes if it was the Warriors, and I know I would be, going down to the picket lines, screaming at the NRL. But they had other opportunities to win. But yeah, it's kind of what happens. It's kind of the thing we said a lot with the Warriors in terms of the referees when you've got one team perceived as the better team against a poorer team. That poorer team doesn't always get everything that they should, which is kind of what we saw here, Richie.
Yeah, mate, where that penalty would have been awarded, I could have kicked it. I could have kicked that myself off my bad foot. Give them the 2 points. It's so cruel, mate, especially since the Titans lost. As you said, the Titans lost in similar fashion the week before, with the call going against them for the exact same thing. She's a cruel beast, rugby league, and especially when all you get is an apology on Monday.
Yeah, we've had to stomach many of those apologies in our time, but I can't look at it unbiased because I had a multi on it, so I was fine.
Thinking of your pocket.
Yeah. So yeah, very unfortunate for them. But it's that cliche you want to say you got to, play and get the ref out of the decision, but a decision that should have been made every day of the week. It just gets missed so often. That's why everyone was surprised last week when it actually got called, because it never
Yeah.
gets called.
Yeah, it's just back to normal this week. That's all it was.
Yeah, but yeah, tough luck for the Titans. On to the next one, I guess. But we'll continue talking about the Titans for a little bit, because we discussed a few weeks ago, Richie, that David Fafita and Big Tino had that free agent clause if Holbrook got the sack. So the word is that Fafita's not really interested in activating it. He's happy to stick around. But the word on the street is that Tino is interested in activating it. Doesn't mean he's going to go anywhere, but it means he is available for offers. So what's your take on that? Do you see both of them staying, or do you think Tino's going to go? There's been a lot of talk about Tino because he came out when he was captain saying he wants to be the first captain that takes him to a premiership. Might leave a sour taste in the mouth if he just jumps ship, but it's a professional sport and it's a job. So if someone's willing to pay him more money to go elsewhere, it'd be hard to disagree with the decision to go.
Hey, I'm willing to start fundraising if you are, mate.
Get Tino with us?
Yeah, I'll go sell some sausage sizzles and raffle tickets. Surely we'll get to the...
He said to us in the past. Admittedly, though, the Warriors are a better performing team now, which could make them a bit more enticing. I just don't think they have the cap space or the roster space. I think for next year, now that we got signing news soon with Sean Johnson, but I think they've basically got, if not all 30, I think they're like 28 or 29 already.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd love both of them to stay where they are. They're built quite nicely, and with a new coach coming in, give it a real good crack. They've got good youngsters coming through as well. They're building the nucleus of something there. It wouldn't be great if one or two of those guys left, and it'd sort of be back to square one almost.
I think that would be fine if Fafita left. If Tino leaves, I think it leaves a massive hole. I know I've been harsh on Fafita basically the entire life of this show. But
he's been good this year. He's been good.
He has been good, but he's not a player that's irreplaceable, where I think Tino and what he does there, he is. But yeah, I think they'll both stay. I think it might just be a shrewd way of Tino's management getting him a bit more coin. But we'll see. Continuing with the Holbrook train, though, the Cowboys and Tigers have been rumored to be setting up meetings with him in an attempt to lure him to the club. Cowboys are very high on him becoming an assistant. I assume the Tigers are probably looking at the idea of having him be an assistant for Benji. Any of those places, I'm sure there's others that we haven't heard of interested in Holbrook's services, but if you were him, where would you rather go, the Cowboys or the Tigers?
Oh, where would I rather go? Certainly the Cowboys. Who would need him more? Probably the Tigers. They need as much help as they can get in their coaching setup, and probably less and less input from their board. But yeah, if I were Holbrook, the Cowboys would seem pretty enticing. If those were my options.
Yeah, same here. I'd be going to Cowboys. Tigers, I love my Tigers, but they're a dumpster fire. That management's all up in the air. I wouldn't feel safe in a role there. So I don't know if I'd be signing a contract to go there, because in a couple of months, you might look at someone the wrong way in a hallway and find yourself out of a job. That kind of seems to be what it's like there. But yeah, I'm sure before the end of the year is over, he'll have a job somewhere. We'll keep going with the Tigers, though, because there was a lot of noise about the Tigers this week, as there always is in the media across the ditch. They love talking about the Tigers. But there's apparently Aiden Caesar has apparently signed a deal to join them from next season. No official word on it yet, but this signing apparently has caused friction between Benji Marshall and Scott Fulton, who is the recruitment manager that was brought in without discussing with the current coaching staff. And there was apparently a meeting held at the Tigers to clear the air between the two. No word on if it's gone well or not, but the Tigers also commented about the current CEO, James Pascoe, and said that he's got full faith and confidence from the board, which is usually, as we know, the fateful quote that coaches and CEOs get before they're fired. But there's just so much noise from management at the Tigers. You kind of feel sorry for the players when your team is being managed so poorly from the guys in suits. How do you expect the players to be performing on the field? It doesn't really go together. So what's your take on all this rubbish at the Tigers? Simon's put a comment on saying that they definitely need to get rid of the CEO, which has been something everyone's been talking about all year.
Yeah, and I agree. It is a mess. You're exactly on the money. There's just way too much noise from people you shouldn't be hearing from. They should be behind the scenes. The Aiden Caesar call, that was a Benji Marshall wanting that, wasn't it? And that's what's caused the friction.
Yeah, from what I heard, it was he wanted Caesar and Fulton wanted Cogger.
So wouldn't the coach or incoming coach, wouldn't he be the one that would get more of a say on the roster he wants?
You would think so, but I guess the argument is, why have a recruitment manager if the recruitment manager isn't recruiting? But
to present options to the coach.
That's kind of what it's meant to be, right? You come to the table going, this is what I've got, and the coach picks what's going to suit his style.
Yes.
That's my understanding of it. But Paul's come in to give us the informed.
Well, look, it comes down to what kind of structure you've got. Because if you look at American teams, basketball teams, for example, if you watched the Last Dance, at the end of that, the general manager, the guys in the front office, basically traded away and decided which contracts were signed. The head coach had no say at all, or very little to say in that. And he was getting very upset that basically he didn't get any credit for the fact that he put the team around Michael Jordan. So egos and stuff can play a part in it. And if you take the American style, then no, the head coach has not got any say in the playing staff. I don't know if you've watched also Moneyball, where the head coach there refuses to pick the players that the general manager wants. So the general manager just trades the players away until he's only got players left that he'll actually select. So in that kind of sense, no, it can be that he has no say at all, and he just, here's your players, you coach them, and we'll decide how the cap is spent.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the American style. The RLPA wouldn't let that win, because not only does the coach not really have a say over the general manager, the players have no say either. So like that example Paul said, where the coach didn't want certain players to play, so the general manager just gave those players to another team. The players have no say in that, which is a big thing. The RLPA would never let that happen, because the players have so much say in everything. They basically dictate the terms.
But there is also but just because I'm not saying that he would have that much power, but maybe the CEO of the Tigers has gone, look, we're going to try this American style and division of responsibility. Look, you don't have to worry about salaries, which can be a good thing in some ways. If the coach has got to decide salaries and decide contracts, then what kind of relationships you have with players? If that's given to somebody else, it can actually mean that you have a better relationship between the head coach and the players. It kind of does require the head coach and the general manager to be on the same page, though. It doesn't help when they're at loggerheads.
Yeah, and I think that's the issue here. They don't see eye to eye. And I guess it goes to who you're going to keep. But I'm sure we're going to get lots more. And I think there was a comment earlier saying that once the Tigers start winning, the media will move on. And that's true with everyone. if you're winning it quiets the noise. Spoilers for ahead. Tigers going to win this week, but I don't see them winning much else.
You wish, mate.
It's going to happen. They're gonna deal to those Dragons, but we'll move on. Otherwise, we'll be talking about the Tigers and Dragons forever. Payne Haas has reportedly rejected the Broncos' latest contract offer and will go to the open market in November. His management come out and said that they're going to wait till the 1st of November before they even discuss anything, which I think is the rules anyway. I'm not sure. But his management did say he's got interest from all NRL clubs, rugby union, even the NFL. But his management has also said that they're very confident he's going to remain a Bronco, which feels like a poor choice of words from a manager if you're trying to increase your offer. If the Broncos know he's going to stay, why would you offer more? But yeah, do you think Payne's going to leave? I think there's not a shortage of NRL teams that would offer big money to keep him or to get him.
I'm willing to start fundraising if you are, mate. Sausage sizzles, raffle tickets.
I tell you, it would be great
Pipe
for
dreams.
the Warriors.
Pipe
The
dreams.
Warriors-
Payne Haas and Fanua Blake.
Yeah,
Goodness
if the Warriors had the best prop in the NRL and Adam Fanua Blake, and then the second best in Payne Haas.
Yeah, the second best. Yeah, could also chase the third best, Tino.
Tino as well. I think we'd have the NRL auditors coming into Mount Smart if you had all three of those. But I think
this is Brad's. This is how Brad would play general manager, right? 98% of my salary cap goes on my four props.
Why do you need to stop at four props?
2% goes on all the other players.
You just get rid of everyone that's not a prop.
They're the game winners, aren't they, Brad?
Adam Fanua Blake goes into the halves. Put Tino and Payne up front. Sam Lasoni comes in at 6. We'll bring him back from the UK and just fill in a roster. I don't know if they'll be the fittest out there, but it would be entertaining. But yeah, and then the last bit of news before we go into signings, the Panthers are rumored to be interested in signing Dane Lowry from the Tigers to the Panthers. Be a big blow for the Tigers. They have a great reputation of letting talented players leave, but they're also not playing them at the moment. So you would understand why he would be interested in going somewhere. I think it would be a great move for Dane. I think he's a hell of a player. Many times last year, he was the only player worth talking about in the Tigers camp. You kind of got that simulation now with Buller, to be honest. But yeah, I think Dane would be foolish not to take an offer from Penrith.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's not getting game time at the Tigers, so he's wasted there. You think he would get game time at the Panthers? I know Crichton's leaving.
Jerome Luai is on the way out, mate. Jerome Luai is going to be gone, and you have Cleary and Laurie in the halves.
But you've got, I don't know. You've got Edwards at fullback, so Dane Laurie's played fullback. He also plays 6, but you've got Cleary and Luai. You look everywhere else in the back line. To'o, Tango. They've got stars everywhere.
The thing is, would you rather play reserve grade for Penrith or reserve grade for the Tigers? You've still got that. How many of these players that play reserve grade for Penrith get to call up? Sean O'Sullivan basically set up his career by being a backup at Penrith. If he wasn't at Penrith before he came to the Warriors, would the Dolphins have even been interested in him? Admittedly, I know his dad's there picking the players, but it's a great spot. People are talking about Jack Cogger now. Like, we want Jack Cogger. Yeah. He's a guy that plays reserve grade and gets a couple of games if a player gets injured or during the origin period. So I think in terms of, rubbing amongst, one of the best teams in the competition, learning from that develops you. If you're stuck in reserve grade and waiting for your time, they seem to pick players that do kind of have less ego in that regard. they've got a lot of
Mm.
ego-driven players at the top, but the guys the next level down seem to understand their role, so they seem to be willing to, stick around, do the reserve grade, learn their craft, and then take their opportunity when it comes. So, if you had a couple other teams offering where you're like, you could be a guaranteed first grader here I'm trying to think of a team like the Eels. The Eels were looking for an X Factor player not that long ago to be their fullback type thing. Then you might go, I'd rather go there than Penrith. But reserve grade for the best team in the NRL is, I think, a step up from where he is currently.
Plus, also, do you get? I mean, what do you have to qualify to get a winner's medal if your team wins it? So, do you become a 5-time winner having played 10 games in 5 seasons, kind of thing? I mean, can you? That then gives you a bit of cachet in the kind of post, your kind of post playing career. You can put 10-time or 5-time, whatever it is, grand final winner, even if you've only played like a couple of games.
I don't know, because I know Sean O'Sullivan got one, and he didn't play in the grand final.
Mm.
So it might be something as just anyone that plays in the roster in the whole season. I could be completely wrong. To be honest, for forever, we haven't had a team that's been capable of even discussing that type of possibility. So I haven't looked at it closely. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I feel like his time's up at the Tigers, though, so he's got to get out. But we'll go to signing news. There's a couple, but the main one was Sean Johnson, Richie. Signed a 1-year extension to remain a Warrior next year. There were also some very good articles talking about he's effectively taken a pay cut from what he was getting this year. He's getting less next year, which I discussed with a friend of mine about it, saying what a turn. I said, like, a turn that Sean is taking a pay cut when the Sean before he left the Warriors originally was basically refusing getting anything less than $1 million to play, and that was what started the whole him leaving the club. So the fact that he's here taking pay cuts, and my friend said he's an adult now.
Yeah,
he wasn't
he's
an
mature.
adult there. He's got a wife, he's got kids, he's got perspective. And there's a few of those players out there that do that they know that if they get paid less. Cleary is the same. Apparently Cleary is openly said he's willing to take massive pay cuts to keep the Panthers players in the squad. Doesn't seem to be working, but it's that type of attitude. You could get 60% of your team's salary cap and make a lot of money, but you're going to have no one around you to actually make you a successful team. So the fact he's willing to take a pay cut just gives him an extra tick in my book. We kind of all knew if he wanted to stay, he would be staying. And now that it's all official, it's good. We can breathe a sigh of relief for 2024. But with how some of these other players are going, it might not have been that bad. I'd still much rather have them out there than not, don't get me wrong. But I don't think the finals preparation for 2024 would have taken the huge dive if he was gone. Very happy he's here, though. What about you?
I'm not so sure I agree with that last point. I think I think would still be fine, but I think he's definitely been a massive part of our success this year. But he is a product of the environment that's been created within the Warriors at the moment. The environment we've got now has allowed him to play this way and bring the best out of him. So I'm ecstatic that we've agreed to sign him for 1 more year. Watch him go around again. I agree completely. I think he's matured a lot, and because I even said to you, I think if he stays injury free, I think he's almost a shoo-in for Dally M. He's certainly right up there, and he could command a lot more money going to a rubbish club like the Tigers. But yeah, I think he's about more than that. He's he's wanting to create something special here. So
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, you got to remember we also have the best Samoan halfback in the NRL and Luke Metcalf still here. So
Yeah.
I think, I don't think it would have been as good if Sean was gone next year. Don't get me wrong, but I think like Luke Metcalf and Tamari Martin would have been a more than capable half team to, keep things afloat. But yeah, Sean's integral. When Sean went down in that game of the weekend, my heart skipped a beat. I was very concerned. And then thankfully when he came off to rest and you could see him, he looked fine because where I sit, Richie, it's right in front of the bench.
Yeah.
So I get a good look and he looked completely fine. So yeah, well done. Very happy. We'll move on. Campbell Graham's extended his time with the Rabbitohs until the end of 2027. Massive signing for them, Richie.
Oh, yeah. He's one of the premier centres, outside backs going around at the moment, and a massive part of the Rabbitohs backline. So they'll be very happy to tie him up. And, yeah, I think we'll continue to see him be one of the top gun outside backs, for the duration of that contract.
Yeah, and then I know we're going a bit long as we do, and we've got an Origin game to talk about. So I'll rattle off the next three. Ali Katoa is signed till the end of 2027 with the Storm. Taniela Paseka is signed till the end of 2026 with Manly. And then Jake Granville was added another year to be with the Cowboys next year. And there was another one. I can't remember his name right now. Coming back to the Cowboys from the UK. I can't remember his name now. It's gone off me, and I didn't put in the notes because I hadn't seen anything official. It was just he signed.
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that next week because no doubt it'll be official by then. Jake Clifford.
Oh, right. It's coming back.
Apparently, but there's been no official confirmation from Cowboys, but it sounds like it's a done deal. So we'll go to injuries. There was quite a few, but I've picked the main ones, I think, that will affect teams kind of in the running. But the Sharks, they've lost Wade Graham. He's apparently a toe injury, though some said he just got dropped like so many others. And then Teague Wilton from the Sharks is also out. He's meeting with a surgeon to judge the severity of it, so we don't know how long he'll be gone. But yeah, some big losses for the Sharks, but they're basically completely readdressed their team after what happened to them against the Warriors anyway, Richie.
Yeah, and rightly so.
Yeah, and then the team the Warriors are facing this week, the Raiders. Danny Levi's fractured his jaw for the second time this year, so he's out for the rest of the season, and Xavier Savage is out for 6 to 8 weeks after picking up a hamstring injury in New South Wales Cup. So some big outs there. They haven't really been playing anyway for the top side, but I'm sure they would have been very happy to try to get Savage back into the squad since he was meant to be their next big thing, but it hasn't really worked out so far for them. And then Bulldogs, they've lost Toby Sexton. He got a head knock, is out for this week with the 11-day stand down. Braden Burns is out at least this week. And then Josh Adokar is going to be out for, they said, anywhere between 1 week and 3 weeks with a hamstring that he got in Origin. But yeah, what's your take on all those? That's a lot for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it is. The main one for me, Toby Sexton. It was unfortunate to lose him. I thought, I think they look a better team having him there. And I talked about it last week, but yeah, once he went off and they had to sort of rejig and bring Flanagan on, they lost their way a little bit. So that's a shame. That's a shame to lose him. Yeah,
definitely. And our on-the-ground reporter, Jacko, has mentioned that the Tigers have signed the Fainu brothers. It's actually not that long ago that the Tigers officially announced it, but they're both, I'm looking on it now, they're both signed to 4-year deals. very good. Latu is the younger one. He hasn't played NRL yet, but the older one, Sam, has played 5 games for Manly this year. And they both played for New South Wales in the under 19s game that happened last week. Very good signing for the Tigers. Hopefully, they don't ruin them. We'll see.
They will.
So we'll go to Naughty Boy Corner. It was a bit of an interesting one. We had two big ones. Regan Campbell-Gillard from the Eels, 4 weeks for grade 3 dangerous contact. And then Big Tino got 3 weeks for grade 1 shoulder charge, which means for Warriors fans, he won't be playing against the Warriors.
Yep.
Then the Eels got hit with another one. Mike Acevo had a 3 to 4 week ban for a grade 2 careless high tackle. He disputed the charge to try to get it downgraded, but was unsuccessful. So he's got 4 weeks. And then Jared Wallace from the Dolphins had 3 to 4 weeks for a grade 1 shoulder charge. He decided to dispute it as well. He actually got away with it and is getting no weeks now, which was interesting. I didn't know how he'd be able to get out of a shoulder charge.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think he should have got something.
Yeah, I thought when you argued with it, you might have got it downgraded, but to get it from 3 to 4 weeks to nothing at all, unless it is something and they just hadn't dictated what it was yet. But when I checked before we jumped on tonight, there was still no update other than he got off it. So
I'm pretty sure he's got priors as well.
It was his 3rd, which is why it was so big.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking on there now. He was successful in having his shoulder charge offense lifted after he was found not guilty. So yeah, he gets nothing. And I saw Jacko said I was very negative. I'm just not confident in the Tigers until they sort out the office. Once they sort out the office, I think they could be very better. But yeah, what do you think about all those charges? I think they're all fair. Thought it was crazy that Wallace got off, as you just said.
So I think they'll be very better.
Very better.
New lows in our English.
Very better.
People about this. We'll sending him to grammar lessons during the week.
They're both words, are they not? I just thought that'd be nice to be put in. Jacko said, yeah, the judiciary's a lottery. Yeah.
It is.
The fact that Wallace got off, I would argue that if Nakore had gone and disputed his, he should have been able to get off. But it is what it is. Very big loss for the Eels when they're really in the hunt to try to keep their hopes alive in the top 8. They're a massive risk of dropping out altogether and losing Regan and Sevo. Sevo is probably not as bad, but losing
Campbell-Gillard is. Yeah.
Campbell-Gillard up the front is a massive loss for them.
Well, he shouldn't have been a grub because
exactly. Yeah.
That wasn't the nicest thing he did.
No, it was brilliant, really. As a front rower, I was like, you shouldn't have done that, but
I like it.
See it. I could see myself doing it. It's just you've got so many cameras on you there, you can't do it. But yeah, so we'll move on. We'll move on to the games, the game review. Starting with Origin, Richie.
Let's start with that one.
The 1 week you could have picked your team and you didn't. So before we talk about it, I know we haven't been keeping tabs on our Origin scores, but we all picked Queensland last week. All got it wrong, so we all ended on 2 out of 3. So very exciting in that tipping comp, which is probably a good reason why we didn't do it. But yeah, New South Wales defeating Queensland 24-10, Richie.
Yep. 4 tries to 2. Brian or Josh Adokar, Bradman Best on debut with 2 tries. For Queensland, David Fafita, Hamiso Tabuai Fido.
Yeah, so this was a must-win for New South Wales. I know there was nothing but pride on the line, but they delivered. I thought they defended well and made the most of their opportunities. The inclusion of some new blood, I think, helped, and hopefully Fittler learns from that for the next series. I thought, Bradman Best looked good. Cody Walker actually had a bit of life in him compared to what Luai had been giving them. So yeah, hopefully a little light bulb's gone off in that dim head of Fittler, and he knows that maybe he should pick players that will perform better. Kind of seems like a stupid thing to say, goes along with the very better. It seems very stupid that you would pick players that aren't good, but that's what Fittler's been doing. So,
and a tune in lace this week for Brad's coaching masterclass. There on pick players.
Pick good player. Player good. That's how Fittler talks. I don't know if you know that, Paul. But yeah, what was your take on New South Wales, your team that you abandoned this year?
Well, far better, obviously, albeit too late. I thought they played with really good tempo, which gave Queensland some trouble. Really nice contributions from debutants Bradman Best, Kalor Matangi. Thought they were both really good. And the recalled Cody Walker, he was really sharp too. That left edge with Cody Walker, Bradman Best, Adokar was really doing some damage there. A lot better. So, like you say, hopefully some light bulbs have gone off, and we see more of that next year.
Yeah, and your thoughts on Queensland?
I thought they were missing some spark from one Reece Walsh. Brimson wasn't terrible. It was just probably a step or two behind where Walsh is at the moment, and the speed that Walsh plays with, and the opportunities he opens up around him, which really troubled New South Wales in Game 1, Game 2. Queensland weren't terrible, but it is very hard to get a clean sweep in this series, particularly in New South Wales Game 3. So, luckily we avoided the embarrassment.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of got the same. Queensland did win the majority of the stats, but they just made too many errors. I think they were pushing it too much because they didn't have a guy like Walsh who kind of created. I still stand by I think a few weeks ago I said with Walsh out, move Hammer to fullback and bring Dan Gagai back. But
yeah.
I think that would have given them that X Factor player out the back. But it is what it is. It wasn't a terrible performance, I don't think. I didn't come away from that game going Queensland were horrible.
Yeah.
They were just off, like you said. If they had a little bit of that X Factor, may have been in, but it's very hard to get the three in a row. So
Hammer was still very good at centre, to be fair.
Yeah, he was. And as for people listening at home, Paul's brought up a too little, too late gift for us. It shoulda, woulda, coulda. Basically, if Fittler had made the right calls in Game 2, maybe this would have been for all the marbles. But yeah, it is what it is. Who was your player that stood out?
I put Cody Walker. Throughout the game, he made a couple of funny passes that went to nobody, but for the most part, he really opened up opportunities for Best and Adokar down that left edge, and I thought what he added with his playmaking brought out a dangerous side in New South Wales. So I think while he's still playing, I'd be tempted to keep him there.
I should have put Cody, but I'm still hurt from what Cody did to the Warriors, so I didn't. I went with Bradman Best. I think there was a comment from Mikey earlier saying that Best is made for Origin. Yeah, we were kind of joking about not Best being picked, but the fact that the selectors couldn't really explain why they picked him over, other players. But from what I saw out there, I'd be happy if you named him next Origin as well. I think he looked great out there. Definitely having an experienced guy like Cody there helping him out on that edge, and having a guy like Adokar outside of him as well would fill him with a lot of confidence. But yeah, thought he was outstanding.
Absolutely.
So that was Origin. Well done on New South Wales for winning the game that no one cared about. And congrats to Queensland for winning the whole thing. And Jacko asked, why do Kiwis care so much about Origin? Nice to watch Aussies bash each other, but that's about it. We have a show to talk about all the games, so we have to talk about Origin. and then I support Queensland because I have family that live there. But I think we said about it last week, Jacko. If New South Wales win, I don't get emotional about it. It is what it is. It's another game.
Yeah.
For me, I don't get the hype of Origin as much anymore. But we've got to fill the runtime, you know. And as Paul said, it used to be the top level league. They still say it is, and I don't think it is. But I know me and Richie disagreed about that last week. So we won't fight about it anymore. So we'll go on to round 20, Richie. Friday, we had the first game, the Knights defeating the Tigers 34-18.
Yes, we did. It was 7 tries to 3 for the Knights. Greg Marju, Bradman Best, Dom Young got 2, Daniel Saifidi, Kalen Ponga, and Tyson Gamble to 3 tries for the Tigers. Jareen Bula with 2, Api Coruscant with 1.
Should have been 4 tries for the Tigers. They were robbed one. That first one, but it is what it is. It was a strong outing, I thought, for the Knights, as expected against the Tigers, to be fair. But they scored at a relatively frequent pace throughout the match. Not sure if it was a big enough statement to cement them as top 8 contenders, though, but time will tell. They've got a very hard run.
I thought the Knights got out to a really dominant start, scoring 3 tries in the first quarter. The Tigers came back to within a try just before halftime, mostly thanks to Ponga having an off night from the boot.
Yeah.
But the Knights were good enough to pull back out again and seal a pretty dominant win in the finish.
Yeah, and your thoughts on the poor old Tigers?
Ultimately, too many patches in the match where they made untimely errors, poor defensive plays. They're still looking like a pretty strong wooden spoon candidate for me.
Yeah, I thought they battled hard, but they just made too many errors, like you said. The highlight for them was Jareen Bula, who continues to impress every week. But I'm sure that squad's just counting down the days till the season's over. And and before I go on to players, good old Jack with the slap.
I was hoping we'd talk about that. Surely that's not a sin bin.
You're not allowed to punch, but I thought open hand slapping was okay in all.
Yeah, surely.
As we saw at the Oscars, but this time Will Smith got slapped here, which Paul may not know. There's a player called Will Smith, Paul, and Jake Hetherington slapped him to get it back for Chris Rock. So I thought it was funny. It's what you get with Jack, though. You sign Jack for his aggression, and you pay the price sometimes. But an open-handed slap.
He got baited perfectly.
He did. That is, with those hotheads, you just got to get under their skin, and they'll slap you like Hetherington, or they'll cry at you like Horsburgh. So you gotta know what you're dealing with there. But it was very funny. But your player to stand out.
Put Ponga. Poor day off the kicking tee, but other than that, it was really good.
Yeah, I Ponga as well. Yeah, missing a couple of conversions wasn't great, but I think everywhere else he looks comfortable again because he's playing in the position he should always be playing in.
Yes, exactly.
So fingers crossed for Knights fans that the halves experiment is well and truly over. But next game on Saturday, we had the Broncos defend the Bulldogs 44-24.
Yeah, a lot of try scorers here. It was good advertisement for afternoon footy. 8 tries for the Broncos. Adam Reynolds, Kurt Capewell, Billy Walters, Dean Mariner, Xavier Willison, Ezra Mam, Brendan Piakura, Herbie Farnworth. 4 tries for the Dogs. Jake Preston, Jake Avarillo with 2, and Corey Waddell.
Yeah, so I thought it was a decent display from one of the competition leaders. Brisbane looked strong in attack. The forwards dominated, even without Payne Haas, and the backs were combining well. They have a tough final few rounds, but I think they're still in the hunt for a minor premiership if they keep winning. Sounds silly when you say it like that. Paul's not at his desk, so he won't make fun of me for that. But they do have some tough matches coming up, though, which could derail them if they don't have their head right. But they've got Walsh coming back.
Yeah.
And yeah, they did what they should have done to the Bulldogs. But what's your take on Brisbane?
Yeah, I thought they looked really slick. It was a good attacking performance from them. Scored plenty of tries throughout the match. With Reece Walsh still to come back, and obviously, as you said, Payne Haas wasn't there this game. They look well placed for the last few weeks of the regular season remaining. So, like you say, a few tough matches there, but I think they've proved themselves this year. I don't think we're going to see what happened to them last year repeat itself.
Yeah. It was around this time last year, wasn't it, where they went from being in the finals to missing it completely.
So Paddy Carrigan got a few weeks suspension for a hip drop, I think. That was the start of the hip drop saga.
Yeah.
And from that point on, they lost nearly all their games.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't see that happening to them this year. But your thoughts on the Bulldogs?
I thought they were very competitive in the first half. They definitely were hurt by losing Toby Sexton, hurt their flow. Ultimately, they couldn't keep up their effort for the full 80 minutes, which you need to do against the Broncos, especially in dry afternoon footy. They weren't going to stop coming.
Yeah, I thought Selwyn Cobbo was done by his sin binning, because what he did was offend, and the thing that hurt Sexton was an accidental knee on the way down, which is why Cobbo hasn't got in any trouble after sin bin. But I thought the Bulldogs started well. They just didn't have that star power, and yeah, that lack of direction once Sexton went off. It's been a tough year for the Bulldogs. But I think they've learned a lot from this year and will be better for it in 2024. Maybe. They got some more talent coming in, but I feel like the Bulldogs might be a bit like the Roosters, where they're getting all these guys, but they're not really building a team. They're just building a team of names. But time will tell. I'm assuming they're going to be a lot better for it next year. I'm more confident now with Sexton there, at least. But, yeah, interesting times. But your player, I think we got the same one this week.
Yeah, again, Reynolds. Yeah. He was, at his best. It
was a week for old halfbacks, that's for sure.
It was. He was in fine form, and 6 from 8 off the boot as well. So had his hands in everything.
Yeah, thought it was a great outing for him. He was just everywhere and doing what they need him to do. And yeah, I think that team, there's, no Haas, no Walsh. I think the only time you're a bit worried about the Broncos is if there's no Reynolds right now. I think they can kind of miss other players here and there, but as long as they got him, I think they'll be fine. Which takes us into the next game. Those unstoppable Cowboys defeating the Seagulls 19-8.
Yep. 3 tries to 2. Ruben Cotter, Jeremiah Nanai, Scotty Drinkwater. So some pretty regular contributors there. 2 tries for Manly, Dean Madison, and Brad Parker.
Yeah, I expected the Cowboys to win by more here, if I'm honest. They dominated the match with some big efforts from their backs and a handful of forwards, but just lacked some polish. For me, a massive turnaround from this club, though. And if that polish does come through, which I expect it will, they're a true dark horse for a run to the finals. Very happy the Warriors have played them twice already and not have to play them again until potentially finals time. But what's your take on the Cowboys?
Yeah, it makes you wonder what the hell happened to them earlier in the year, eh? But, I mean, it's not like they were missing a couple players, big players, admittedly, Drinkwater for a while there. But, as of now, their winning form continues. Their march towards the finals continues. It's a good win away from home without being at their very best. But I imagine if they end up making the 8 from here, not many teams will be too keen to come up against them.
No. The team that had 66 points put on them by the Tigers isn't around anymore. It's completely different. I don't know what they changed in the water there, but they've gone back to the Cowboys we saw last year. They flicked a switch. But yeah, your take on poor old Manly.
Another loss. I think they're going to need well, it's pretty obvious they're going to need to find another gear or 2 or 3 to be in with any chance of making a late charge. I get the feeling it's going to be out of their reach this year.
Yeah, I think they did their best without Tommy Turbo, but without him, they've got a lack of spark, and DCE can't do it alone, which I think I've said on this show before. Nothing to be embarrassed about in this match, I think. They're just fighting an uphill battle to turn things around, and they've got a Cowboys team that I don't see many teams being able to beat right now. So tough luck for them. But your player?
Scotty Drinkwater. He's in a bit of a purple patch right now, so easy to pick him while he's hot.
Yeah, I went with Luciano Leilua. He's my reason why the Cowboys got better. They seem to have turned it around once he got back. But you know, you don't see him on the score sheet, but he was doing a lot of work in the middle. He was very busy. He's had the reputation in the past to kind of be like a David DeFeeder, a very lazy player until he's got the ball in hand type thing. But he's doing a lot of the little things that the Cowboys need him to do. So I think he's a big reason for why they've turned things around. But yeah, I thought it was a great effort from him. And just thought it'd be nice to pick someone that we wouldn't traditionally see on here because he's not scoring all the tries. But
yeah, fair.
It's nice. Storm Roosters next game up, 30-16, win by the Storm.
Yep, 5 tries to 3. Melbourne Storm try scorers Xavier Coates with 3, Jerome Hughes and Harry Grant. For the Roosters, Daniel Tupou with 2, and Suia Wong, Josh Wong. He got on the try scoring list there.
Yeah, this one, it was an interesting performance from the Storm. I thought it was good, but there was a lot of question marks around some of their performance. They played almost error-free football, but they did spend a lot of time camped on their own goal line, and their defense was getting worked. But they sustained the pressure, which I guess is what you need. That's why we didn't see them score a lot in the first half. But the pressure they built in that first half, I think, delivered the points we saw in the second. They're kind of going under the radar with the media, which I know is silly to say about the Storm because it's the Storm. But I think they've got a decent shot at taking top honours this year without everybody talking about them every week. But your take on the Storm?
Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to go all the way, Brad.
I said they've got a shot. I don't say I think they're going to do it.
They might. They've got
a 1-8 shot.
It is the Storm after all. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. I thought it was a solid win. Like you said, they did a good job of building pressure in that first half, switched gears in the second, and once they did, it showed a golf in class that you wouldn't normally see between these two sides, but that's probably down to where the Roosters are sitting at the moment.
Yeah, and your take on the Roosters?
It's almost time to draw a line through my premiership tip. Weird decision to have Tedesco not playing when they need wins to stay in the race. Some teams do rest their Origin players, but I don't think the Roosters are in any sort of position to be doing that. This is one of the most enjoyable bad predictions I think I've ever made. So yeah, I'm loving it.
Yeah. A quick flurry at the end of this match flattered the Roosters, really. You know, they got those 2 tries in the final 3 minutes, which, you know, made that score a little bit nicer for them. Clearly the team's not on the same page. They're clunky. They had 14 errors and no one stepping up to direct the team when Tedesco wasn't there. I don't mind the decision to rest him. I'm assuming this was planned before the season. Maybe you would have changed it. The thing I didn't like about it, and that might be just me being an old head, but Tedesco he got the rest, but he didn't even go to the game. He went on a holiday instead, which I feel when your team's, you know, on the ropes as they are, you're the captain. You might be getting a rest, but you should have at least been there. I don't know any other teams with big leaders that have done that. All the, you know, Panthers guys, the Broncos guys, they still went to the games to support the team. That kind of adds to my thing where I think that, the team's not really a team at the moment. They're all just individuals doing their own thing. But yeah, they have to be the biggest disappointment this year, and they need to go back to the drawing board. I know they've got some good players coming in. Jacko said that they're going to let Soroliti go and sign Buller. I really hope that doesn't happen. But they've got Dom Young. They've got Dom Young coming. Tupou's still going to be there. So I feel like those are going to be their wingers. I don't know I guess Manu's going to be their fullback when they finally retire Teddy. They'll probably retire at the same age. I feel like Teddy's going to just stay there as long as they'll let him. But yeah, I don't know. It's very confusing what's gone wrong there, but I couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
I do like to see the Roosters struggling because, they just always seem to get everything go their way. But yeah, who was your player? I think we picked the same one in this one too.
Yeah. Xavier Coates, hat-trick, looked deadly, had to go.
His intercept try I thought was funny because he got the ball in such an awkward way that he should never have been able to keep going. He got it like at a stop-start, had to pull it down.
Oh yeah, he's quick though.
And
he's quick.
No one could catch him. It was crazy. But yeah, he's kind of been quiet this year, so it's good to see him kind of come out with a bit more confidence and get some points. So well done for him. Next game, first game on Sunday and the best game of the week. Warriors defeating the Sharks 44-12.
Yep. 8 tries to 2. Dylan Watene-Zelezniak with 2. Rocco Berry, Aden Fanua-Blake, Luke Metcalf, Chans, Josh Curran, and Adam Pompey. Just the 2 tries for the Sharks. Nico Hines, Brendan Nakora. Wow. What a game.
Yeah. Crazy. It was hard to condense this all into a short form because I know Paul watches how many words we say for each team, and he deducts from our paycheck. But it was a bit of a slow start for the Warriors. But they were composed. They didn't let, the fact the Sharks scored early, they didn't let that rattle them. And once they opened up the Sharks' middle, the game was over. And the Warriors were almost scoring at will. SJ was directing play well. The forwards dominated. And strong games from Luke Metcalf and Rocco Berry really made me confident in a top 4 finish potentially being on the cards.
Yeah, I like you. Definitely there was a tough start. Big arm wrestle in the first 20. After that, the Warriors went on a rampage, and I thought we executed at a very high level, scoring in a variety of ways on the flanks, through the middle, off the back of 40-20s. And our defense was really strong as well. So, yeah, I was over the moon. I thought it was a really complete performance.
Yeah, before we go on to the Sharks, Sharks are known as one of the best attacking sides in the comp, so the Warriors holding them to 2 tries is fantastic. But your thoughts on the Sharks?
The curse continues for them. They don't have the ability to beat top 8 teams. Defensively, they weren't up to scratch, and they appeared to be rattled once we put the foot down. I think they'll face a tough battle to stay in the top 8 from here. They still have a few top 8 sides to play in their run home. I think we talked about it last week, and I foolishly said the Rabbitohs are going to drop out. I think the Sharks are favourites to not make the 8. Very disappointing there. For me, they're just living up to their flat track bully status. They're the Mitchell Moses of NRL teams. And they'll just outplayed all over the park. Hines, he's a great talent, but he can't play behind a forward pack going backwards, which is what we saw here. And as we already just said, big chance of missing the finals. There was 2 players I wanted to pick, and I knew if I picked one, I had money on you picking the other, which is exactly what's happened here. Same here.
Who was your player?
Yeah,
there is a comment that goes with it. So
Right.
I'll bring it up. I'll spoil it, but yeah.
Uh,
Your plan.
Yeah, the exact same thing for me, mate. If you didn't pick the other one, I was going to pick him. So I've gone with Rocco Berry. Yeah, I thought he did really well. Obviously, looked really dangerous. The try he scored, he ran a beautiful line, and yeah, he just looked like Jacko said, a coming of age performance. He looked fast on the outside when he set up chance for a try. Defensively, I thought he made most of his assignments. So yeah, he looked really good. I was really happy for him.
Yeah, and I see Ruse here, and it's actually probably the right time to come in because we're talking about Rocco Berry. During the game at the start, Rue and myself were both rubbishing this little centre, saying how rubbish he was. He just looked lost. And then, like, after that beginning period, I just shut my mouth. He was fantastic. It was a breakout performance from him. My question is about it later, so I won't go too much into it. But yeah, fantastic for him. But I went with SJ. The only negative I have on SJ, as you know from the chat during the game, was he cost me my bet because I had a bet on Sean scoring 12 or more points. He would have got it if he didn't go off hurt because Luke Metcalf got the final conversion. But besides that, he was fantastic.
Yeah,
you know, a massive week for the guy. You know, he signed that deal, welcomed his baby girl into the world, had, you know, all that pressure on him about it being a marquee game, bringing his little girl out on the field beforehand. There was a lot of emotions there that could have derailed him, but no. He just went about his business, got a 40-20, just was everything that we want him to be. And yeah. Okay, that's a very funny comment, guys. My hair was beautiful, but it's gone. But yeah, fantastic performance. There was a lot of talk about this game, about the Eels game, going, you know, it was the Eels without all their stars. See the Warriors do this type of score against the Sharks team. I think it silenced some of the doubters. So it was very good. But we'll move on to the next game. Panthers defeating Dolphins 24-14.
Yep, 5 tries to 3. Moses Leota, Isaac Tungle with 2, Tom Jenkins with 2. 3 tries for the Finns, Cody Nikarima, Connolly Lemuelu, and the Hammer.
Yeah, wasn't the best outing for the Panthers, but with a lot of their big names out, they still look dangerous. They did make too many errors for my liking, and I'm sure Ivan wasn't that happy about it. But when the ball stuck, they were such a deadly side. And right now, you have to say a sheer must be an absolute certainty to get minor premiership.
Yeah. Again, they managed to win without all their rep players. The fact they don't seem to miss too much, even when resting their players, it's a scary thought. And I think they're definitely firming as a favourite for a third straight title, unfortunately.
Yeah. Your take on the Dolphins?
Definitely courageous and gritty from them. They're finding wins hard to come by now at this point of the season, but they're still competing hard against the top sides, which is definitely encouraging for them going forward.
Yeah, I put here honest attempt from the Dolphins, but they just don't have the cattle to compete against the top tier side right now. Just lacked a bit of attacking class. Have performed better than many expected, but I think the fairy tale's over.
Yeah.
Player to stand out. I think we picked the same one, didn't we?
Tungle. It was hard to turn a blind eye to him. He was beast mode. The long range try he scored was something special. Yeah.
Hell of a talent, and probably the next guy that the Bulldogs will try to take. But
or Roosters.
Yeah, or Roosters. But yeah, thought it was a great night for him. Yeah, well deserved. So it takes us to the last game. Very nervous about this game, watching it with my multi on the line. But the Eels defeating the Titans 25-24.
Yep, 4 tries apiece. Regan Campbell-Gillard, Will Penasini, Bryce Cartwright, Clint Gutherson. And for the Titans, Cam Pereira with 2, Philip Sami and Tanner Boyd with the try scorers.
Yeah, Eels dodged a bullet. They look certain to be heading to another disappointing defeat, but to their credit, they showed some grit and managed to score a dubious try, to say the least, before sealing the deal with Moses' match-winning field goal. Not convincing at all, but we need to see more from them this week if we're to take them seriously as title contenders. I see we had a comment say that they thought me and Brad from This Warriors Life were the same person. No, we are different people. You can tell by our voices.
Which try did you think was the dubious one?
Gutherson's one at the end.
Yeah, that looked pretty clear cut to me.
Oh, mate. Yeah. If that was the Warriors, would they have given it?
No, but that's different.
I was fine with it being given. Again, I had money on it, so I was biased, but yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. The Eels will be happy to pick up the win. I feel like poor discipline with the 2 sin bins helped keep the Titans in the match. But the Eels had enough big plays in them to steal the win. Big plays like that. Definite try from Gutherson. But a bit of controversy at the end, obviously.
Yeah, and your thoughts on the Titans?
They'll be feeling pretty bad about this loss, especially given they probably should. Well, the NRL pretty much confirmed they should have been handed a penalty at the end, which is exactly what happened to them last week, the other way around. Rugby league can be a pretty cruel beast, as we've already discussed.
Yeah, I thought they battled hard, but they ran out of puff in the final 20, which we expect from the Titans. They were defending well, but couldn't handle the pressure. A much better side than the Titans we saw at the start of the year. But I think they've left their run too late and missed the top 8.
Yeah.
Your player?
King Gutho, I just love. He's such a competitor. He competes for everything, and that try was just at the end was just like typical Clint Gutherson. Like just a loose ball, effort to get there, and then scramble for the corner.
Yeah. I've talked a lot about it. I don't know on the show, but in person, Gutho, he's not the most talented player out there, but he gives 100%. He just looks like a real grifter. But yeah, well done. I didn't pick him though. I went with Bryce Cartwright.
Yeah, he was amazing too.
He's kind of the laughing stock of the NRL. You kind of always joke about Bryce Cartwright. Everyone always seems to want to sign him to the team, but he never really seems to do anything consistently. But I think this year for the Eels, he's been fantastic.
He's been far better this year. Yeah.
So I wanted to just give him a little bit of a nod. So that was the round. So we've got ladder or tips, whichever one Paul wants to pick first. It's the ladder. I picked top 8 last week, so you go for it this week.
Panthers are number 1, Broncos number 2, Melbourne move up to 3, Canberra move up to 4, but they're about to be overtaken by the Warriors, who are sitting 5th currently. The Sharks drop to 6th, Para stay in 7th, and the Souths, Sydney Rabbitohs, still in 8th place.
Yeah, and then the rest, we've got Cowboys sitting at the top at 9th. Newcastle, we've gone up to 10th. Manly have come down to 11th. Gold Coast went down to 12th. Dolphins down to 13th. Roosters down to 14th. And then the bottom 3 stay the same with Bulldogs, at 15. Dragons 16. Tigers 17. There was a comment from Jacko saying, given the draw, it's possible both Sharks and Eels will fall out of the 8. I think, to be honest, only one. If it was me, I'd draw a line under the Cowboys. And I think the Cowboys will go up with the Sharks dropping out. But the Eels have a tough draw. If Newcastle or Manly manage to string a couple of wins together, they could be the ones that benefit from it. But at the moment, for me, I just see the Cowboys as the only team that can shoot up. But Paul's joining us now.
On the official NRL website there, ladder, they've got some odds over from Australia around who can win the kind of premiership, or I guess it's winning it anyway. and you got the Cowboys at like $15, and then the Knights at $201. So everyone below the Cowboys are basically over $100. So it really shows that there is the bookies. I think the line is under 9, and then everyone else outside that.
But both Sharks and Eels have a real tough run home. So they're both at massive risk of going out. So you never know. It's still so tight that, say the Sharks go on a losing run and Manly or Newcastle go on like 2 or 3 wins in a row. In 3 weeks' time, the ladder could look completely different. It's really hard to tell. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think the Warriors are going to be 4th or up. Putting my money on the line, pending how they go this week. If they beat the Raiders, it's 4 or up for me. If they lose to the Raiders, they could be one of those teams battling in the bottom 8. Dean and Kemp, friend of the show, from Bloke and a Bar, he was talking about it, saying like how it works. He said if the Warriors get to 4th, Penrith stay at 1st. They play Penrith in the first round. If they lose to Penrith, they come home and have a home final. And then the only time they'd have to face Penrith again is in the grand final, which would be a hell of a way to get over, the hump. But we'll get in a couple of weeks, we'll get to finally talk about the Warriors and playoffs, Richie. We've never done that on the show before.
Before we get to that, I've got a question for you boys. Out of the top 9, which team do you think got the longest odds with the Aussie bookies to win the whole thing?
For me, it would be the Raiders.
Yeah.
Simon. I think the Raiders, they still can't play in the second half. You really can't be a team in the finals that can't play 80 minutes. But on that same token, the Sharks as well. The Sharks can't beat anyone in the top 8. So if they're in the finals with everyone in the top 8, they're not going to win. So probably the Sharks. I'll give the Raiders more credit. I think the Sharks, if you go into finals, Sharks are done.
I'm sticking with the Raiders.
Yeah.
Well, so boys, your initial instinct was right. Yeah, the Raiders are $34. The Sharks are the next. The Sharks are at 18 and the Eels at 19. Those are the longest 3 odds. So it's a bit surprised that the team that's in 4th there has got the longest odds out of the top 8, which is interesting.
It's inflated. They've had all their buys. They've got negative 55 points differential.
True, they're the only team. You're right. They're the only top 10 team, or the only team in the top 10 that's got a negative points differential.
Yeah, and that's the problem there. When they've been winning, they win close, and when they've had some spankings. And Simon said, fair enough. Hopefully, Ricky is working and making them a full-time team. Yeah, I think if they got enough talent that if they could play for 80 minutes, they could be a troubling side. But it's kind of, they feel like the Warriors of old, Richie, where, you just have to be in the battle for the first hour and then you'll run over them in the last 20, which has happened to the Warriors so many times in the past. So, yeah, hopefully they don't learn how to be an 80-minute team this week. Give it a week. But so we go on to tips, Paul.
Brett's been itching to pull this one up.
Oh, look at that star, guys. Look at that star. So we haven't done it this year. So for people from...
I'm sure it's bigger than it used to be.
It is. I couldn't find the star I used to use. I got a bigger star. So I used to give a gold star to the person that got a perfect round. Richie got a handful of those last year. But this is actually the first one this year, guys. The 3 of us, no one had ever got 7 out of 7. So
it's been a tough year.
Yay me.
Or even 5 out of 5.
Yeah. So Simon is still ahead of everyone. He got 5 out of 7 this week and is leading 94 out of 148. I, as we see by the star, got 7 out of 7, which has brought me 1 point behind Simon on 93 out of 148. And Richie, despite making some horrible choices last week, still got 5 out of 7.
Languishing, though.
And is well behind the pace now at 87 out of 148. There was a time where you and me were together and we were miles behind Simon. So I'm just thankful Simon's gutsy calls have kind of not worked for him. It was which one? It was the Dolphins game that he picked the Dolphins over the Panthers and was like, oh, no, I think this is going to happen. But thankfully not. But Simon's already sent us his picks, and we're disagreeing on a couple. So I might either get ahead of him or fall behind again. So we'll get to see that next week. But questions. Do we have some questions from anyone, Paul?
Yeah, so Bjorn asks, apart from Mount Smart Stadium, which is your other favourite ground to watch the Warriors play in New Zealand?
Not Eden Park.
For me, I would actually, it's kind of cheating because they haven't played a proper NRL game there, but Rotorua, they used to play one trial a year there, and I used to love going there. The game I went to in Taupo was actually quite good too. That wasn't a bad stadium, if you can call it that. It kind of feels like it was just a clubs league field with like a little tin hut that was the stand. But yeah, those are two. I know Richie will probably say Wellington, but Wellington I feel too far away, which I really don't like, as Paul knows now by where I sit. I like to be close, so yeah, I'd go Rotorua for me.
Oh, the Cape Town, a bit like Eden Park. It's one of these grounds that's supposed to be a one-day cricket ground and a rugby ground. It doesn't work. It's not a rectangular stadium. If you're going to be playing in rectangular stadiums, for my mind, I've not been to Cape Town, but for me that would rule out the Cape Town straight away.
Positive for Wellington though is you can actually get to the stadium, unlike that abysmal place we call Eden Park.
Well, I know it's Eden Park. I guess the other places you've seen them, obviously, you guys both seen them at Napier, and they'll also
too many pitch invaders.
Yeah. It's just a savage crowd there. Fear for my life.
And you're hoping to get to the to Hamilton as well, but we'll see about that later.
Yeah, and Jacko commented about Taupo saying that is a paddock. It is. It literally is a paddock. But the Warriors won. It was the Fishers' debut. It was a good time for me. But yeah, it is literally just a paddock. But yeah, any other questions we had?
Hang on, we've not heard from Richie yet. Richie, where do you like to watch them?
Obviously the Cape Town. I didn't say it, but it goes without saying. It is far away. I agree completely. But you know what? It's not far away from pubs and
pubs and your house
and your house.
Yeah.
So bloke in the bar talking about this top four easy. And are you guys? What are your thoughts on top four?
I think it's as long as they beat the Raiders. I think I would be concerned if the Warriors dropped any other games after the Raiders because they're all playing bottom 8 teams. I know the Warriors in the past haven't had the best track record, but the way this team is, they should theoretically, they get the Tigers, they get the Dragons, they get Manly, who aren't really doing that well right now, but they get Manly here.
I'll just run you through the games. So obviously you've got the Raiders at home this weekend. Then you're away to the Titans, away to the Tigers, at home to the Sea Eagles, at home to the Dragons, and away to the Dolphins. And away to the Tigers is in Hamilton, as you've said before.
Hamilton, yeah.
So I say away to the Titans, away to the Dolphins, in Hamilton for the Tigers, and at home to the Eagles and Dragons. Yeah.
So they should theoretically win all those games. The Raiders, I feel, is the toughest game left. It depends if it's raining or not. It's raining this Friday. If it's raining a few more of those other games, I might be a bit more concerned as well. But I think, anything less than top 4 right now, I think I'd feel disappointed, which I would have laughed at me at the start of the year if I said I'd be complaining that the Warriors were in the 8, but they weren't in the 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think with the run they've got, top 4 should be the target.
Yeah, it's set up for us, isn't it? You're right. At the start of the season, I would have taken any spot in the 8, but now that we're in the position we're in now, it's set up for us. It's in our hands. All we need to do is beat these teams we should beat, and we're there. And then we've jinxed it now.
Beat the teams we should beat. Oh, Richie, dearie me.
I'll tell you what. I will be nervous on Friday if the forecasted rain comes because the Raiders do like a grind of a game, and
they do.
I feel like it would really suit them.
It would if it's raining, which the weather indicates it is going to be. So that one's going to be tough, but I think the rest of them should. as long as the Warriors have their head on straight, should be easy wins.
I think we're comfortable, not easy. Easy
Yeah.
helps you get complacent. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's the questions from the live chat, guys.
All right, so we'll go with your one first, Richie, because
Yep.
you're getting sucked into idle gossip on Facebook, I assume.
Yes, I am. No, I don't actually believe these rumors, but I've read rumors online that the Tigers may be interested in chasing Luke Metcalf. Do you think there is a possibility of another homesick release request on the horizon? And would you want the club to do everything in their power to retain him?
Mate, he's not going nowhere.
Oh, I hope not. I don't think so too, but
homesickness only seems to happen in rubbish teams that aren't going well. You know, when you're winning, you're on top of the world. You don't feel worried. If the Warriors were languishing at the bottom of the ladder and he was stuck behind Tamari Martin at the moment, I would give more credence to it. He is only signed for next year, so from November, other teams can start talking to him. I expect there's going to be a discussion with him about extending. They've already invested heaps of money taking him to America to fix his hamstring, so they're invested in him. He's had interviews this week where he said he wants to be the number 7 that takes over from Sean Johnson, which kind of makes it look like he's looking beyond Sean's time next year. So yeah, and if it was another team, I would give more credence, but no one's going to leave a team like the Warriors that are pushing for a top 4 and look like they're starting something special for years to come, to go to the Tigers where the coach and the recruitment manager are fighting and won't even talk to each other.
Hey, money talks, man. He might be looking to take over Luke Brooks.
And yeah, Mikey said maybe the girlfriend's sick. There's some beautiful women in New Zealand. Get rid of that and get a Kiwi girl, Lukey.
Brad's girlfriend seems to look at league players.
I can tell you what, she might be watching, but she was liking the look of Luke Metcalf in the weekend. I can tell you that.
You can take one for the team, Brad.
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, there's always a chance. James Maloney had a girlfriend or wife that was homesick and he left us when we were just building something. But yeah, I feel like Luke, there might have been a bit of homesickness when he was injured and wasn't like out playing. He was just rehabbing. That's where I feel that would have come in. But I think he's making every post a winner at the moment. So I feel like he's more than happy to be here.
So come end of next year, are you giving him a nice upgrade to retain him?
Yeah.
Because he'll be on some he won't be on big money.
Yeah, nothing crazy. Like if you had to keep him here, you had to give him like $1 million, give him like a Luke Brooks contract, then I'd be sending him on his way.
Yeah.
But he'd be getting an upgrade because by that point he'll be a regular starter in the halves. And I know there were stats. We've apparently got like the most affordable spine in the NRL.
Hey, Mikey, don't say stuff like that, Mikey. You're going to make Brad weak in the knees.
Yeah, Mikey said Millie Boyle to the Warriors NRLW team when they're ready. 100%. I've already been sending her DMs telling her to come over. She's welcome here. She can stay with me if she can't get accommodation.
We'll be issuing the restraining order in
next week. Definite restraining order.
She hasn't blocked me yet, and I can take Adam Elliott if I have to. But yeah, we're deviating. My question for you, Richie. Rocco Berry, we already talked about him a bit, but he had a decent night out against the Sharks. Do you think this is a sign that he's turned the corner, or do you think it was just potentially a one-off?
Definitely not a one-off. I don't even know about turning a corner. I'm not as harsh on Rocco as some other people like you, Brad. I think he's been showing signs. I think even in Napier against the Broncos, he looked really good. And you watch a lot of our recent wins. Rocco Berry's given a lot of last passes to Dallin as well. I think he's shown an ability to put his winger away, and he's getting a little bit better bit by bit. The more games he strings together, so definitely don't think it's a one-off. So I wouldn't say turning a corner either. I'd say he's just growing into that role. He's maturing because he's always had the potential, the physical attributes. It's just getting the opportunity and staying injury free, and like we said earlier, the environment that's being created, the quality of plays we're running, the ball he's getting from our playmakers. It's all culminating to not just Rocco, but other players in the team all playing career best footy. So I feel like they're all just a product of what we have going on at the moment.
Yeah, I think probably saying turn a corner is probably a poor turn of phrase from me. I've been really harsh on Rocco this year, but before this year, I was a big fan, saying like this kid is going to be, the center for us. So then it just looked like he wasn't really clicking. It felt like everything clicked in. As I said at the start of the game last week, I was criticizing him because he looked like a deer in headlights. He looked a bit lost. And I didn't think his line running was doing good. I got corrected by Hammer saying, no, he's doing line running. Shut up, you prop. And he was. The big thing, I don't know if you could have seen it on TV, Richie, but being there live, the biggest thing I was impressed with him was his kick chase.
Yes. Yeah.
Rondale kicking to the corner. Rocco was the first guy up there. And it was every kick that corner. It wasn't like one or two of them. He put some extra effort to make sure he was there. It was every single one. It's just shows his character, I guess. So I don't like bagging Warriors players, but I tend to do it a lot. But I never want to see someone fail. Even the Adam Pompeys and the Jesse Royals of the world. I want to see them do well. So I'm hoping that this is, just becomes the norm. To the point where you're not even a bit like Tohu Harris. We don't really praise Tohu at all because Tohu does excellent every week. And you're expecting it. So I'm hoping that we get that with Berry where he has these types of games and it's just a normal performance. And like Mikey said, Pompey's a work in progress, but improving bar some areas. He's been around forever. He can't be a work in progress anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm more worried about that side of the field than Rocco's side. I mean, I agree. Pompey's got some upside, but I think he missed 8 tackles on the weekend, and he did get stood up a couple of times.
Yeah, he missed
stood
8
up by
tackles,
Nico.
He had 6 errors the week before. He is an enigma. I think I put that in my review. I picked him as my warrior to improve. He's an enigma. He can do things that no one else can do, but then he can make the most stupidest mistakes. He's played 71 games. He can't be a work in progress after 71 games. You lose that tag after like your first 2 years, in my eyes. Paul said RTS to replace Pompey next season. Yeah, I'm hearing unfortunate rumors that the Warriors might extend his Pompey's time as well. I thought he'd be going, but he will. At the moment, RTS has definitely got a centre spot, and I guess Berry, Pompey, and Ali are probably the ones that will be fighting for it if they extend Pompey like the rumors are. Before last week, I said Ali would be in the centres with RTS. Now I'm open to Berry keeping that as well. So, interesting.
Yeah, but Pompey wouldn't be bad as a depth player or a depth squad player from that point of view, depending on how much he costs, of course.
I would put him as a depth player now, but he's playing every bloody game, Paul. they love him. I don't know what it is, but that's why I'm not a coach.
Yeah, look, and let's be fair. You guys are not as down on him as you were earlier in the season.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. He has stepped up and impressed you guys. I'm not saying he's impressed you to be a starting grand finalist, but as a squad player.
I'm not naming a kid after him, that's for sure. So we'll move on to round 21. So we'll bring up the Warriors game first, Paul. So I'll let you do our Warriors team, Richie.
Yep. So again, the backline pretty much as it has been for the last few weeks. CNK fullback, Watson Lesniak, Marcelo Montoya wingers, Rocco Berry, Adam Pompey centres, Luke Metcalf, Sean Johnson, the halves pairing. Forward pack, Adam Fanua-Blake, Wade Egan, Bunty R4 front row, Jackson Ford, and Maratu Niokore coming back into the side. They're the edge back rowers. Tohu Harris named as lock and captain. Interchange bench, Dylan Walker, Mitch Barnett, Tom Ale, and Freddie Lussick. That's where it gets interesting. So Bailey Sirenen and Josh Curran drop from the team at this stage.
Yeah, and then for the Raiders, we've got Sebastian Chris at fullback, Albert Hopewadi and Jordan Rapana on the wings. Centres of Jared Croker and Matt Tomoko. Halves are Jack Whiten and Jamal Fogarty. Front rows, Josh Papali'i, Zach Wolford, and Joey Tapani. Then we've got Hudson Young and Elliot Whitehead in the second row with Corey Horsburgh at lock. Then with Tom Starling, Umre Gula, Basami Salo, and Ata Mariota on the bench. Decent, predictable Raiders squad, which is kind of what you want. You want to be able to pick the same team every week. There's only one man that scares me, or two men that scare me in that team, and that's Matt Tomoko and Joseph Tapani. Big issue is Tomoko is going to be up against Pompey, and as we already said, Pompey was missing a few tackles last week. Tomoko is just a beast. So Pompey, I hope he's got Tomoko's picture on his wall at home, and he's focusing on making sure that man doesn't do anything. But yeah, Warriors, interesting bench. I've listened to a few other poddies today talking about it with some ideas. I think this isn't a team we would have seen if it was dry weather. I think this is a team conditioned for wet weather. In that Rabbitohs game that Paul came to me with, where a guy like Wade Egan, that middle is going to be very tired. So ideally you want someone to be able to come on for Egan for a bit, which is why I think Lussick's been picked. Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't mind it as much. I feel like Curran, you're not going to get a lot out of him in the wet weather. They're probably going to be very focused on keeping those second rowers out there. They can both play 80 minutes. So bringing Curran on in wet weather, I don't think is going to benefit the team. If it's a dry pitch like we saw last week, Curran's great to bring on for some injection, but they want their players that get in the trenches and just work hard, which is kind of not really Curran's thing. No disrespect to him, but he's not really the guy you rely on to do all the heavy work for 80 minutes. He kind of gives you a bit of spark, which you don't really need a lot of spark when it's pissing down with rain. So I think this is a team designed for a grinding game, which I think is a positive that Webster's picking a team for the conditions, which he didn't in that last game for the Rabbitohs. We kind of tried to play like it was dry. But yeah, I don't know. I've been in trouble for doubting Webby in the past, so I'm not going to do it this time.
I'm not going to doubt him. Yeah, I'll get behind whoever he puts out there. I mean, Wade Egan has had troubles all season with injuries and head knocks, having to come off the field. So I think Lussick's definitely the best person to have on the interchange for that, and just to give him a rest. I wouldn't put anyone else in it dummy half. Maybe Sirenen, but I'm behind it.
Yeah. So who are you picking? I've got the Warriors.
I've got the Warriors. Even if it rains, I'll stay with the Warriors. If it rains, this is a game where we get over that little hoodoo.
Yeah, and let me guess, Paul Simon has picked the Raiders because he's a one-eyed Raiders fan, just as us one-eyed Warriors fans have gone our way.
What's the Raiders look? They're on a 3-1 record at the moment. They're an informed team and they're at home.
They're not at home. They're not at home.
Oh, no, they're not at home, are they? They're away. Oh, geez. Yeah, still. Oh, geez. Yeah, the Raiders are going to get in their longboats, row over to New Zealand and do the raiding. That's what they're supposed to do.
You're doing Simon a disservice by not
I
researching
am
properly.
sorry.
Paul.
Look, home and away record for Raiders. Look, 5-3 at home, 6-3 away. So look, they don't mind if they're playing home or away. They're still got a good record.
Their last loss was against the Warriors too. So it'd be nice if we can book in their losses by beating the Warriors both times.
Yeah.
But we'll go on to the rest of the round. Now that we've got the Warriors-Raiders game all side up. There we go. First game is on Thursday. This one took me a lot of time, guys, but Dragons versus Tigers, the two worst teams in the competition playing each other. Effectively, this is the battle for the spoon. So I've gone with the Tigers because, as always, Brad doesn't pick the Dragons.
I've gone Dragons. Dragons emphatic victory.
Look, there's only one team that the bookies have stopped taking money on to win the Premiership, and that is the Tigers. Even the Dragons have got odds. Okay, they're $501, but at least they've got odds. Whereas the Tigers haven't even got odds now. They're that bad. So, yeah. Look, we're going with the Dragons. And they're at home.
I feel like I'm going to be on the losing side of this, but if the Tigers have one chance to win a game the rest of the year, and it's this one, so I'm hoping they put everything they can into it. But
the same applies to the Dragons. They've got one game they can win the rest of the year, and it's this one.
That's true. That is true also. And then we've already picked the Warriors-Raiders game, the first game on Friday. Next game is Rabbitohs-Broncos. I've gone with the Rabbits. Latrell's back.
Game. Yeah.
Latrell's back. So, yeah, I'm going with the Rabbits at home. Effectively, I was going to pick whoever would be at home in this game because, yeah, they're both quality.
I'm going to go the other way then.
Broncos.
Catch-up pick.
Look, I mean, this is a tough one, isn't it? The Rabbits are at home, but look, they're on a 1-3 record. They've lost 3 out of their last 4 games.
They got Latrell back though.
Whereas the Broncos are 3-1 over their last 4 games. Even, obviously, both of them with Origin removals, and the Broncos still do it. Whereas the Rabbits have really struggled. This is a must-win for the Rabbits, though. Look at this, on 24 points, same as the Cowboys. If they want to make the top 8, they can't be losing this one. So Rabbitohs at home, they'll be more desperate than the Broncos.
Yeah. And then the first game on Saturday, we've got Titans-Roosters. I've gone with the Roosters. I didn't think I would, but I think they really need a win here. The Titans can't play 80. So I think that the Roosters will get the job done here.
All right, then I'm going the other way. Titans.
This is how you get so far behind.
Yeah, but hey, nothing to lose.
This is how he catches up in 1 week.
Yeah, true.
Look, we've gone with the Roosters. I don't know why, because look, the Roosters are on 1-4. They've won 1 of their last 5 games. Look, the Titans aren't great at 2-3, but look, the Roosters are in a real bad space at the moment. But still, they, as you say, they have to win this game. So Roosters it is, away from home and on a bad run of form, going with the Roosters.
Nice. Next game on Saturday, we've got Knights versus Storm. Easy, Storm.
Well, the multi's looking good this week. Yes, we're all going with the Storm here. Look, I mean, this is probably the reason why that line is under the Cowboys, right? The Knights is their run-in against teams like this. This is where they're going to slip away. So yeah, Knights. Sorry. So yes, Storm winning this one.
Storm. Yeah, and then next game, last game on Saturday night, we've got Cowboys Eels. Cowboys for me. I don't see anyone stopping their run anytime soon. And they're at home.
Yeah, I know. Every bit of me feels like the Cowboys are going to win this. I'm going to go the Eels, though.
Okay, look, there's making catch-up picks, and then there's just making absolutely dumb picks.
The Eels could do it.
They could
do it.
They could. The Tigers
could.
could beat the Panthers potentially. I mean,
The
they're both
Tigers
got-
did beat
they're
the
both got
Panthers.
players
They
on-
did beat the
The
Panthers.
Tigers did beat the Panthers.
Oh, okay.
They can hold on to that forever.
I mean, well, look, I mean, they're still doing odds on the Dragons. The Dragons still could win the Premiership, but they're not going to. But the Cowboys, they're on an unbeaten win, 4-0. Now the Eels also actually on a good run at the moment, 4-1. As much as we've been dissing them, but still, yeah, Cowboys at home on a fantastic run. I'm going to back them, but yeah, that's perhaps the Eels aren't as bad as a pick as I'm making out for by Richie there.
So currently our multi is a 1-game bet.
I would say that,
That was the plan.
I would say that the Eels are really don't like travelling. They're one of the worst. They're the worst team on the road out of the top.
Don't
8
say that.
with 4 wins and 4 losses so far in their 8 away games.
And then the Panthers and Bulldogs, the first game on Sunday, Panthers.
Panthers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got
I
some-
mean,
Not that stupid.
I could say, yeah, there's games, and then there's Panthers. That's not going to add much to the multi.
no.
TAB
And
currently
then-
have the Panthers at $1.03.
It's like picking the All Blacks, really, isn't it? Last game of the round, Sharks versus Eagles. This one was almost as hard as the Dragons Tigers for me, but I've gone with the Sharks. They've made some changes, and I think it's going to be a wake-up performance from them. And I still don't like picking Manly when Turbo's not there.
I'm going Manly. DC is going to pick them apart.
Okay.
So, look, the Eagles. We're talking about poor away form. The Eagles so far in their 2 wins and 5 losses. They've only had 2 wins all season away from home. How you've got to pick the Sharks in this one as much as you're looking for catch-ups. I say that my comment before about the Cowboys Eels perhaps wasn't so bad, but this one, the Eagles 2-3. They're on a losing run form-wise. They've only won 2 games away all season. Look, this is what keeps the Sharks in the top 8.
And this is why Richie is so far below us in the tips, because he makes just
we have
silly
a
choices.
2-game multi.
2-game multi, which we should get. The Storm should beat the Knights, and the Panthers should beat the Bulldogs. So now we're cheating. We get that first multi, and we're just trying to orchestrate easy multi wins. Now I don't like it. Don't like it. But yes, so that's our picks. Only 2 games we agree on this week because Richie doesn't want to, take part.
Maybe we need to add a anytime try score to that multi.
We're trying to win Paula's money back, so we'll go with it. And then before we go on, the NRLW starts this weekend too. We don't really review that. We kind of a bit like Super League. We just run down the scores, but there is some games I didn't give the fixtures to Paul because I forgot. So apologies, but Titans play the Cowboys, Knights play the Dragons, Broncos play the Mighty Roosters, go my Rooster female team, Eels versus Tigers, and Sharks versus Raiders.
Why don't they call the Cowboys the Cowgirls then?
I don't know. I'm not in the decision making process. I'm sorry, but yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know, Richie. Why do you ask questions like that towards the end of the show?
I don't know. It just sounded weird you reading it out just then.
Yeah, the Raiders game will be good to watch. Mackenzie Wiki, Ruben's daughter, is named to play in the centres, so should be a good game there. So yeah, before we go, I know Jacko's about to leave us. There we go. There's the draw. So some good games there. It's always a bit of fun to watch. But we'll go into Super League before I let you all go. Catalans and Lee remain first and second on the table, but Wigan have gone back up to third and St. Helens have fallen to fourth, which is how they're going to stay next week as the comp takes a break for the Challenge Cup semi-finals. So we had St. Helens lost to Catalans 14-12. Uddersfield defeated Wakefield 24-6. Hull KR defeated Leeds 19-18. Wigan defeated Warrington 26-12. Hull FC defeated Castleford 36-18. And then Lee defeated Salford 24-22. And then, yeah, as I said, next week or this week, we've got the Challenge Cup semi-finals, which is Lee versus St. Helens, Hull KR versus Wigan. Putting on my tipping hat, I think we might see yet again St. Helens versus Wigan. What do you reckon? Or do you think Hull KR will do an upset or Lee?
No, I think St. Helens Wigan as well.
Yeah, and I was trying to find some more info. I saw a picture. I believe it was from the Wigan game, but it might not have been first grade. A Wigan player went to in the corner for like a Dallin try, and the corner post broke and went through him. Went through his side. There was a picture of him, like them trying to pull it out of him in an ambulance, but I couldn't find it in the news anywhere. I just saw it like on the Instagram. So I was trying to find it, but I'll keep working on that, and we might talk about it next week because it was a gnarly gnarly injury. But anything else you want to add before we go, Richie or Paul?
Yeah, thanks for the chat, everybody. Let's go the Warriors. I hope you enjoyed on Friday night, Brad. Hopefully the rain stays away.
Yeah, I'm going shopping for some wet weather gear because my gear doesn't work. But yeah, okay. So, and Simon said Toulouse Olympic is now second place in the championship as well. So that's all we got for tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the Standoff with Brad and Richie. For your weekly update on rugby league, tune into our show next week at 8 p.m. or at your convenience on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those places. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Thanks for joining me again, Richie, and cheers to Paul for all the help in the background. And good night, everyone.
Thanks, Paul.